What's happening, everybody? I'm back on my old stomping ground, Locked On NFL. Brian Peacock sitting in for Chris Carter and your boy Q, Locked On NFL, doing it for this Friday edition, Thursday Night Football. We've got our six-pack of picks, some news around the league. COVID is running wild, and Urban Meyer has been fired. All that coming up on this edition of Locked On NFL right now.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Brian Peacock at BD Peacock on Twitter, Q at your boy Q254. It's kind of nice, man. I like being back on Locked On NFL. And we didn't have the YouTube channel going on when me and Williamson were doing Locked On NFL. By the way, hi, everybody. Brian Peacock. If you don't remember me, if you weren't listening to Locked On NFL when I was doing it with co-host Matt Williamson, we now have our other podcast, our own show called the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show coming at you daily. I'm also the host of the Locked On 49ers daily right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. There's a ton to get to, Q, on today's show. And I've had you as a guest when we were doing Locked On NFL. So it's nice for me kind of to be your guest here today. This is nice. I like this.
Yeah, man, it's fun, and we're closing out the week really strong, man. I love it. It's always fun to be on the Friday edition of the Locked On NFL. It's always coming off a Thursday night football game, and so we had a good one. You know, we had a really good Thursday night football game, and a side note to it, it's the last Thursday night football game, like last Thursday night football game, not of just like the year, but on Fox. I mean, it's done with Fox. It's going to Amazon next year, and I believe next week it's on NFL Network, and that's it.
I believe so. Yeah, we got Saturday games coming up this
Yeah.
week. One of them in question with all the COVID that's going on with Cleveland Browns against your Las Vegas Raiders. Thankfully, this last Thursday night game was a really good one too. Going into OT with Kansas City, improving to 10-4, beating those Los Angeles Chargers 34-28. Twitter was fun tonight watching this game because it was the analytics crowd versus the take. It was like the go for two or the go for it on fourth down crowd versus the take the points crowd. And that was a lot of fun because the take the points crowd thinks they have a big win. I don't know if they actually do. But it was a really fun game. And obviously when you have guys like Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert out there chucking the ball around, two of the most physically talented dudes in the NFL, it's a lot of fun. But it was nice to see the human nature of Patrick Mahomes throwing one of the ugliest passes I've ever seen, where he's just bouncing it to a dude who's wide open in the end zone, Mecole Hardman. And they weren't able to convert on that one, but they did convert in overtime. Travis Kelce looking more like George Kittle than Travis Kelce, looking like it found the fountain of youth there a little bit. Ended up with 10 catches, 191 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and showing some moves in the open field to score in overtime to put the Kansas City Chiefs on top and now a commanding lead in the AFC West. And it's almost like an inevitability, right, Q, with this team going on to be the 1 seed in the AFC.
Right, exactly. Just like that, they're the number 1 seed. I mean, really, who would have thought that a few weeks ago before they decided to go on to a long winning streak that they're on right now and sitting on top of the AFC West and more importantly, sitting on top of the AFC Conference. And that's incredible, man. And for Kelce to have the game that he did, 10 catches, like you mentioned, 191 yards and a couple TDs. I mean, man, he is Travis Kelce that we all remember. I mean, we always talk about Kelce and Kittle and then Darren Waller's involved in that conversation. But Kelce, man, he's back to being the guy that everyone expected him to be. The Kansas City Chiefs are back to being the team that everyone expected him to be. And it's just like clockwork. You know, here we go again. It's December, mid-December, and the Chiefs are in first and feeling good about themselves. Patrick Mahomes, incredible game. There was a lot of people going back and forth, you know, hey, got to take the points or you got to be aggressive against the Chiefs. I'll tell you, Brian, I have no problem with what Brandon Staley decided to do, roll the dice. I know there's multiple times he failed inside the 5-yard line, and that's not going to beat the Chiefs, but field goals ain't going to beat the Chiefs either. So I really didn't have any problem with what he decided to do.
Yeah, and it's won them games in the past too. So you
Right.
can't discount. It's not a small sample move. It's a large sample move when you're going for it on fourth down and you're trusting what the data tells you. And so that's a really important thing to remember. And another reminder about the Chargers. And look, this is a huge win for the Chiefs too, because a lot of times when you're on the road on Thursday night, it's almost a scheduled loss when you have to travel a pretty good distance like you do from Kansas City to LA. And
Right.
so that's nearly a scheduled loss in a lot of cases. So for Kansas City to go get that win in the division is massive. And now, everyone's fighting for that bye. There's only one bye in each conference now. And if Chiefs put themselves in that position, it's really important. And the Chiefs look like a very flawed team earlier this year, and they're figuring
Yeah.
a lot out and figuring a lot out on the defensive side of the ball. And I was a huge believer in the Los Angeles Chargers this year, and I still am. I think they're going to be a playoff team, but it's also flaws that are showing up for Brandon Staley's group, and they're still not quite there. And it's a valiant effort, and they're figuring some things out, but they're a team that's maybe not quite at the level of, okay, this is a Super Bowl team. Maybe that's next year for them. They still have a little bit of work to do. And I keep getting reminded of that. And I kind of want to, maybe I'm putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit because they've got such a talented quarterback. And I really believe in the head coach. And we have that head coach and quarterback marriage. It's hard not to believe in that, but I think they still have some work to do. Especially on the defensive side of the ball. Oddly enough, with a defensive head coach, they have some work to do with this team. They're flawed, but they're still really good.
Right.
And when you've got a quarterback and some of the receivers and weapons they have on offense, you're really not out of any game either.
No, you're not, and they're playing well this season. They really have, and of course, their schedule is very favorable for them down the stretch. So they have games that they'll probably be favored in each and every one of them. But they're just to me, it feels like they're maybe one piece away. Again, they've got the quarterback, which is the most important part. The really good head coach. I like Brandon Staley a lot.
Yep.
He is a defensive minded guy, and you're right. Their defense isn't right where it needs to be. They need to figure out how to stop the run. They weren't able to do that, and then on top of that, they're just they've got a few little issues here and there, little breakdowns that they have. But when they tighten that up, as long as they stay healthy, I believe they'll be a really good team. But you got to like the direction that the Chargers are going. But the better team won on Thursday night. The Chiefs get that victory. They go and get it in overtime. They win the toss, and they make no mistake about it. They go right down the field and get in the end zone. No questions asked. Hey, Chargers, you're never even going to get the ball. So really, the Chargers had, 3 opportunities inside the 5, and they had the ball back with, a minute left in the game with an opportunity to maybe go down the field and get a field goal to win the game, and they weren't able to do it. So with all those missed opportunities, it's no surprise or shock to anyone that the Chiefs came away with the victory.
7 straight now for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Whew.
Was this the end of it? Did the Chiefs just win the AFC West with that game and 3 more to play, beating the team that was in the position to take them out? They have Steelers, Bengals, Broncos the
Yep.
rest of the way on their schedule. The Chargers have Texans that should be winnable on the road, Broncos and Raiders, but I think they're just too far back, 2 games out now behind
I
the
mean, you
Chiefs.
never know. They got 3. They got 3 left. I think that the Chargers probably win all 3 of those games. I mean, honestly, I do. I'll tell you that right now on December 17th. I'll tell you that I think that they win all 3 of those games. But who knows? And look, the Chiefs are on a 7-game winning streak, and the thing about 7-game winning streaks, you feel like it's going to snap at some point. It looked like it was going to snap on Thursday, so you never know, man. If they slip up a game or two, and remember the Chargers hold the tiebreaker they won earlier in the season against the Chiefs, so you never know what could happen. But Kansas City's in really good position right now, and as it looks like the playoffs are going to go through Arrowhead.
Yeah, a lot of 7-game winning streaks don't become 10-game winning streaks.
Right.
It's difficult to win that many games in a row in the
Yes.
NFL, even though the Chiefs seem to be rolling right now. Some big storylines going on in the NFL queue that we have to get to coming up. But first, I want to let the listeners know about a way that they can get to Super Bowl 56 at SoFi. It's less than 100 days in the way away, and it's On Location, the official hospitality partner of the NFL. It's the only place you can score a once-in-a-lifetime Super Bowl ticket and experience package. It's all about the experiences, too, not just the Super Bowl. Select your exact seats. Choose from an elite experience package featuring an exclusive pregame celebration with NFL legends, 5-star LA hotels, and food by the great Wolfgang Puck. Visit onlocationexp.com/SB56 for more information or search Super Bowl On Location if you want those tickets for the Raiders 49ers Super Bowl 56 at SoFi. It's On Location, exp.com/SB56, or search Super Bowl On Location. No one plays daily fantasy sports to lose, right? I've been losing a lot in fantasy football this year. That's why I've been going more to StatHero, because when your year-long fantasy team goes in the tank, you can start over every week and go one-on-one, head-to-head with the house at StatHero. For example, this week, there's a 3-quarterback showdown. It is Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, and Jimmy G. Can you pick 3 quarterbacks that can beat the house, that can beat those 3 quarterbacks? You already know who you're going up against. StatHero tells you who they're picking. You pick your 3 quarterbacks to go against them. Tons of other ways to play. There's Saturday games, Sunday games, different position groups that you can play at StatHero, the first of its kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in head-to-head fantasy matchups. Winner take all. StatHero players are clocking odds up to 4 times better than traditional fantasy sports. With StatHero, you're in control of the stakes and you are in control of your team head-to-head, one-on-one, the way fantasy should be. So sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match as well. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON for 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon. The news broke late last night, Q. And yesterday's show, Locked On NFL, didn't have the opportunity to cover this, recording early the night before. Urban Meyer's done. He had become the heel of the National Football League in 2021. And I'm trying to think, like, Q, what do you think was the worst, the most egregious error from Urban Meyer this year? Was it grinding with the young lady on video? Was it kicking his kicker and telling him whatever expletives he told him, like just treating him like
Right.
less than a
Make
man?
your kicks. Blank, 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 and blank.
Yeah, don't miss the kick, dip, blank, and
Right.
kicking him. Like, what are you doing? Was it just the losses, the bad record, and having a terrible team? That was pretty offensive in a lot of cases. Or was it asking his assistant coaches what their resume was and calling them losers and saying he had a better coaching staff at Bowling Green? Like, what was the worst thing he did? Because he was just a terrible human being through and through from the moment he was hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, I think that's what it was. I think it was the whole combination of everything. It was what started when he hired his coaching staff, and he hired a coach that he had to get rid of because he had racial issues going on in the past, going back to players. I mean, before it ever got started, it already had started off bad. You know what I mean? It's like he walked in the door and there was already a dirt stain on the carpet. You know what I mean? Like, you already knew that there was a problem, and that carpet just continued to get dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. They were in Jacksonville, and they had some nice, clean white carpet when he walked in, and boy, it didn't take long for it to get dirty. And so that was just what it was, man. It was a combination of everything. He obviously is a terrible fit coaching, period. I mean, he's done what he's done in college. He's won his championships. He's held his trophies. He's got his accolades. But look, everywhere he's been, it is no mistake that there's always something he leaves behind, some kind of, like I said, stain on the carpet that he leaves behind. And this is no different. And so Tigers don't change their stripes. Jaguars don't change their spots. Urban Meyer doesn't either. I mean, it was a bad situation from the jump. And I actually give Shad Khan, I actually give him a lot of credit for going ahead and just pulling the plug now before something else popped up. And then we're talking about what's it going to take to get this dude out of here.
Yeah, and I think there was some contractual stuff and guarantees in his contract that Shad Khan was maybe trying to figure out behind the scenes, and maybe that's what delayed this firing, because he probably deserved it a lot sooner. And in the end, he's like, yeah, I just can't even wait. I'll let the lawyers figure it out. We got to can this guy because it's not working out, especially when your young quarterback starts to even speak up about it a little bit. And you realize, okay, this is a drain on the team, and we can't ruin the development of the future of our franchise with this guy. And it makes you wonder what kind of crap he got away with, Urban Meyer, on the college level for so many years. And like, it took years for that stuff to catch up to him before he moved on to a new location where it only took a matter of months in the NFL, because that stuff doesn't fly with grown men over here.
No, and in college, man, they've got ways of cleaning up everything. I mean, there's a lot of things that you never hear about that happen in college sports all the time. There's somehow it magically goes away. And so Urban Meyer, he had a certain way about himself, a little aura about himself, and he was able to really do what he wanted to do and kind of skirt around everything in college. Like you said, that doesn't fly in the NFL. Grown men aren't going to take that. And honestly, when he, kicked the kicker and told him to make his damn kicks or whatever he said in the exact words he used, he ain't no dummy. He didn't kick a linebacker that he knew would take him out back and beat the brakes off him. I mean, he kicked the kicker that he thought, I can do this too. He knew, I mean, in his mind, he calculated like, I can make this very terrible thing that I'm about to do. I can do this to him because he's going to take it where someone else might not have done that. So I feel bad for Jacksonville. I feel bad for Shad Khan because they tried to go out and make a splash hire, get the fan base excited, bring some credibility to that team. And it just didn't work out. I remember talking to Amp Wig when immediately when they hired him, and he was pretty juiced. And hey, this immediately brings some credibility to this team. And man, that credibility was in the front door and it was out the back, quick, fast, and in a hurry. And like I said, I feel bad for the organization because they tried to do something big and it just exploded and blew back in their face.
Yeah, I remember talking to Wig about the same, and it was more like, okay, we need someone with some direction and a CEO of the whole deal.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he signs Tim Tebow, and you think, maybe the football side thing ain't going to work too good here because as bad of a quarterback as Tebow was, he was an even worse tight end. Apparently, seeing him attempt the block was like kind of bad, really. And just pretty much every move he made was bad, and even gifted, whatever. We'll see if Trevor Lawrence is actually a generational quarterback, but that was one of the big reasons why it was such an attractive job for Urban Meyer, and he wanted that job, and he handpicked it because of that young quarterback. And wow, to be gone, not even through the first year, pretty amazing.
He didn't even make it through the finish line, man. He started the race and he tapped out before the race was over. He saw a little watering tank and he was like, "All right, I'm done here. This is where I'm done. It's a wrap."
I wish I had the video of it. Dan, the interim coach was asked about. He said, "You still have time to have a better record than Urban Meyer's career winning record in the NFL." And the response, the smile, the laughter, it's pretty clear that nobody in the organization is going to miss Urban Meyer. So I think he wore on just about everybody.
Which tells you everything you need to know. You know what I'm saying? If you were not liked by anybody, it's not them, it's you.
Not even the people you handpicked and hired and put in these high-level positions, they don't even like you.
If they don't like you, it's you. It's not them, it's you. So that's obviously one of the huge issues. And the other huge issue that's been going on in the NFL that we still really don't know where we're at this point is everything going on with COVID-19. And it's just, man, the numbers are just, quadrupling, tripling, whatever you want to call it. It's just blowing up, over 100 total players across the league and coaches as well with COVID-19 issues. And this game on Saturday between the Browns and the Raiders, I mean, I'm trying to preview it as the host of the Locked On Raiders. I'm trying to break down keys to the game. And one of my biggest keys is like, who the hell's playing?
Who are we playing against here? Is it Nick Mullins? Looking like Nick Mullins might be the quarterback who's beaten the Raiders before.
Yeah,
he's no joke. Like he's not afraid to sling it. But one thing I didn't realize, and this was reported by Dan Graziano of ESPN. He said, to be clear, the new NFL COVID protocols make it possible for anyone who's tested positive this week to test back in and play this weekend. Yes, even if you tested positive today, you can play Saturday as long as they're vaccinated and show no symptoms. So if you're vaxxed, no symptoms, and you have that negative test, even if you tested positive late in the week, you can still get back and play. So that does make it possible for a lot of these Browns players, and there's a million of them that could get back. I'm just going to read the list really quick.
But the thing about that real quick is the reason why that has changed, and I mean, regardless if that's a good rule or not, the reason is because the NFL wants the game to be played. They want to make sure that the game is played. It's not really like, oh, hey, we know that 2 tests 24 hours apart is too much, so let's just go ahead and knock it down to 1. No, it's because, hey, we want to make sure that there's actually players out there. If there's 46, if you have 46 guys, you could play. So that's what it's all about. Even though, it tries to make it sound like that they're listening to the CVC and they're doing this, that, and the other. No, man, they're trying to save their backside and make sure that they collect their almighty dollar. And on top of that, there's no wiggle room. If you try to postpone games, you can't. There's no wiggle room because the 17th game, 18th week this year.
And they already told teams what the salary cap was going to be last week, so they got to get all that revenue in, man. So they got to make
Yes.
sure these players are out there playing. And look, it's one thing to go from Baker Mayfield to Case Keenum, who today or Thursday tested positive, to Nick Mullins. That's one thing. But then to have Nick Mullins behind an offensive line that has no starters, when you
Right.
have Wyatt Teller and Jedrick Wills and just about the entire offensive line out, that gets ugly really quick. And there was only like 3 or 4 starters that either with COVID or injury were projected to play earlier this week for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. Then you have depth, and then it's just
Right.
it's a crazy situation. And look, the Browns aren't the only team. The Rams have like 20 guys now too.
Right. Right.
Washington's got some problems. There's a bunch of teams that just test after test all of a sudden. It's going crazy. So who knows who's going to be out there? I have no idea. Good luck in everybody's fantasy football
Oh,
matchups.
yeah, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. The thing about it is what really concerns me, Brian, about this game is not really even who's going to be playing. I think it's going to be an ugly game because the weather's going to be, pretty ugly. So it's going to be a heavy dose of the run game for both teams. But I'm really concerned with, okay, if all these players are tested positive for the Browns leading up to the game, who's going to test positive for the Browns maybe after the game? And then since the Raiders are interacting with them, are they going to return with a bunch of guys back to Vegas? You know what I mean? Like, because look what happened Monday Night Football. The Rams had a couple guys, Jalen Ramsey and Higsby. They're out, and then all of a sudden Odell Beckham Jr. Then right after the game, boom, he tests positive. Then all of a sudden it's like a chain reaction or whatever. It's a snowball effect, and so that's what I'm really more concerned about is what's going to come out of the game following the game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're seeing most of the West Coast teams have been pretty good for COVID. Same with the Raiders, same with the
Yeah.
49ers, even the Chargers. The Rams are good, go away. All of a sudden they come back with everyone's got COVID. And so, yeah, now do the Raiders come back next week? And then in week 16, they're the
Right.
team with 20 COVID cases.
Exactly. That's where my big concern is. So I really am interested to see how this game shakes out. I would be personally, I would have no problem if the league decided to postpone it, move it till Sunday or Monday night. I don't know. I don't care when they move it. I would have no problem with that. I just know that they're not going to do that because again, they don't have that wiggle room and they want to make sure these games get in. It's the first week of Saturday games, so they're not going to miss that. I mean, there's 1,000 reasons why they're not. They're going to bend over backwards to make sure it gets played. But me personally, and not to mention, I just want to see a quality football game. You know what I mean? I mean, regardless, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, the Raiders should have a good chance to win this game." Q. I don't care. I want to see Baker Mayfield out there. I want to see Jarvis Landry out there. I want to see their first string offensive line out there. I want to see a good football game. I'm a football fan. That's what I want to see. I don't care about seeing the 8th, 9th, and 10th offensive lineman for the Browns going up against the Raiders' first string defensive line. I mean, that's like a preseason game that nobody's interested in. I don't really care to see that. But I
Yeah,
mean,
you
here
don't
we
want to
are.
see a second half preseason game here in week
Right.
15.
Exactly. I want to see the best of the best. That's what we tune into the NFL for. So, I mean, there's one thing if you're dealing with injuries, but COVID is a whole nother animal.
It's crazy. And it's not like the Raiders going to make the playoffs anyways, right? They're done.
I think so. I think that they're just trying to get to the end of the season, man, and then press the reset button.
I was so impressed with Derek Carr and how the Raiders were able to keep things afloat through so many
Right.
issues. And it's kind of like just caving in on them now. And
Yeah, you want to talk about snowball effects, man. I mean, they got into the bye. They were 5-2, looking good. They've literally won one game since the bye week. You know what I mean? And it's all about what you do in November and December. They've won one game in November, none in December. So there you go.
COVID's the only thing that hasn't hit the Raiders yet.
Basically, I mean, really, I mean, they've honestly had like 2 guys all season long, Jalen Richard and Trent Sieg, the long snapper, been hit with COVID, and that's really pretty much it, man. I mean, it's been pretty smooth with them, but that's like you said, about all that's been really smooth with the Raiders this season, and that's unfortunate because they did start off really well, and you thought that hey, maybe this is a year they turn things around and get into the playoffs, but then they get hit with body blow after body blow, and then they get hit with a knockout punch. So like I said, they got about 4 rounds in this fight left, and they're just trying to hold on to get to the scorecard.
It's about time for that 6-pack. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, we could do that. We could jump into the 6-pack. We're going to pick out 6 games that we're going to talk about. There's been times in the past where we've gone through every single game, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and pick out 6 games that we find intriguing for this upcoming weekend, week 15, and we're going to break it down and give you our picks for those games. But before we do any of that, I do want to tell you about BetOnline.ag. They've got you covered all season long with the props, the odds, better lines. They got everything that you need to get you covered all season long, and that's all the seasons. I'm talking pro and college basketball, pro and college football, NHL, boxing, UFC. It doesn't matter. Any sport that you have a opportunity to bet on, BetOnline.ag has got you covered. Go to the website on your laptop or your mobile device, sign up today, and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. All you got to do is use the promo code Locked On. That's how you receive the bonus, and it's all one word, Locked On. You get a 50% welcome bonus just for signing up and making a deposit at BetOnline.ag. They're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, and they're where the games start. And this weekend, while you're watching football, what are you going to be snacking on? How about Built Bar? We've been telling you about Built Bar for many, many moons. Been telling you about it for a very long time. Well, it's the holiday time. So how about some holiday flavors? And every single morning I wake up and I check out the website and I go to built.com and see what the new one is or new ones are. And there's always something there new for me to check out, especially for the holiday time, like gingerbread. They got the gingerbread Built Bar. They've got eggnog just in time for the holidays. Caramel Almond Delight. That's one of my favorite ones. Caramel Macchiato. That's another good one. Ruby Chocolate. Saw that one this morning. Built Bar Puffs, Ruby Chocolate flavor, and then Lemon Dip Cheesecake, Built Bar Puffs as well. Those are just some of the many flavors to choose from. And I'll tell you right now, if you're like me and you like to have folks over the house and watch games and just kind of enjoy it and hang out and whatever the case may be, it's always sometimes after a lot of trash talking and some games that you want to have a snack. Built bars are the way to go. You're having a great tasting snack, something like a candy bar, but it's really good for you. It's a protein bar. You will not be disappointed. You won't get that groggy feeling afterwards. You're going to have a little bit of pep in your step and know that you just had a really great tasting snack. So check them out today. Do like I do. Check out the website every single day, early and often. You never know what you're going to find. Built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15 and you'll save 15% off your order when you go to checkout. Again, Built.com, promo code LOCKed15. All right, Brian, here it is. The 6-pack of games that we have to close out Locked On NFL podcast on this Friday. Head into the weekend. It is week 15, Saturday games. The only thing I hate about Saturday games is it's near the end of the season when there's Saturday games. They don't have them in week 3. You know what I mean? Like when you have a Saturday game, it's getting close to the end of the season. But here we are, week 15 action. Got some good games to choose from. So I rolled out a couple that I really wanted to talk about. And this one really is a good one because, well, I'm surprised by the way that this team is playing. How about the New England Patriots and the Colts? This is one of the games that is playing on Saturday. We kind of talked about the Raiders and Browns. That's a Saturday game as well. But the New England Patriots and the Colts. And the Patriots obviously being led by a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones. You want to talk about the Chiefs getting their mojo back. It feels like the Patriots have got their mojo back. And then the Colts, they have a great running game. What are your thoughts on this game? How do you feel like this one shakes out?
Yeah, I don't like this matchup for the Colts, even though they're at home. And look, it's not going to be a game like the Patriots against the Bills where the weather plays a big part. But look, I think the Patriots and Colts really want to go about things a similar way a lot of times. I don't think anything's too big for the rookie quarterback, Mac Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the Dome is going to save the Colts here.
Right.
And what's surprising to me is the Colts are favored. Like, I don't know what's
Right.
going on over there in your town, but they've got the Colts by 2.5. I don't see that at all. I think this is easy money to bet on the Patriots, who have covered all year long. They're one of the top 3 teams in the NFL in covering against the spread. They're a better football team. I think they're a better coached football team. Their quarterback might not be dynamic, but he's not going to make a lot of mistakes, and they can run the ball and they can play defense. And I think the big key here is Bill Belichick's ability to take the ball away. And Carson Wentz, even though he's been better at it this year, is the type of quarterback that'll throw the ball to the wrong team. So I think everything to me in this game, aside from Jonathan Taylor's immense talent, points to the Patriots winning this football game.
You know, it's funny. I feel the same way. I do think that New England wins this game for every reason that you said, not to mention Bill Belichick takes away what you do best. And right now, what the Colts do best is run the rock with Jonathan Taylor. And so I think that he's going to look at that and say, you know what, Carson Wentz, like you mentioned, go ahead and beat us. If you could beat us, then we'll tip the cap and say that you won the day. But Carson Wentz, when he throws the rock enough, he's going to give you an opportunity to make a takeaway, and that's what Bill Belichick's going to count on. I think he goes ahead and takes away the run game, limits Jonathan Taylor, and makes Carson Wentz beat him. Now, I will say, side note, there's a reason there's air conditioning in the desert. You know, I mean, the guys in the desert don't lose often, but I feel like that they could lose on this one, no doubt about it. How about this game? How about the Tennessee Titans that have been doing pretty well without Derrick Henry. Going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I just got a big question mark over Pittsburgh. Just they're up, they're down. You know that you're at the end of Big Ben. Mike Tomlin's a hell of a head coach. He's a guy that finds a way to get it done regardless of the circumstance, but it almost feels like, and I don't want to start nothing yet, but it almost feels like it may be coming to an end of an era with Mike Tomlin as well. Man, Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is this a game that you think Titans get without Derrick Henry, or do you think this is a game where Pittsburgh can get their mojo back and Big Ben can have them a big game?
I mean, not only Derrick Henry, but A.J. Brown. They're just hurting
Yeah.
for playmaking talent on that side of the ball. Look, maybe the Titans are a team in January, and look, they're going to be a playoff team, I think, just because of the head start they got. But they're a team maybe you don't want to face in January. But right now, they are not a juggernaut football team. And
Right.
the Steelers getting healthy on the defensive side of the ball. I kind of like Pittsburgh in this game with the caveat that we don't really know at his advanced age which Ben Roethlisberger is going to show up week to week because he has been downright bad some weeks, and he's been serviceable and okay,
Right.
even in a new Ben sort of a way, in a Big Ben part two sort of a way. So as long as he can be okay, I don't think you want to run down the throat of that Tennessee Titans defense like usually the Pittsburgh Steelers try to do, even if it's only 3 yards per carry for Najee Harris. They don't care. They want to be physical up front, but Jeffrey Simmons is a problem inside. So
Yeah.
if you can utilize Najee Harris, who's got the ability out of the backfield as a receiver, and play the defense that I think they can against a bad Tennessee Titans offense right now with a lack of playmakers, I do like this one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And more than anything, I kind of like the under for this game. I think it's just going to be a knockdown, drag out type of a game where the Steelers come out, on top 19-17.
It's funny. I have so much trouble counting on Big Ben, because I don't know, like you said, what Big Ben you're going to see. I like to go ahead and put my eggs in one basket when it comes to Mike Tomlin because I think he's just going to find a way to figure it out. I mean, it seems like that's what he does is figure things out, even when you just look at it like, I don't even know how they just did that. But, the Steelers find ways to get wins. They, it feels like they got lucky against Baltimore when they won that one when John Harbaugh went for 2 and wasn't able to capitalize and Pittsburgh squeaked out of there. I just don't know, man. I think that the Titans defense is strong enough that they'll create a couple turnovers with Big Ben. Najee Harris it feels like he's like their only weapon that they have that's reliable each and every game. Chase Claypool, I like his talent. I don't like his maturity or lack of maturity. I don't know. He's got a lot of growing up to do, and I think that Pittsburgh's going to be a tough place for him to grow up and do that. I think Mike Tomlin's probably been on him tough all week. I'm going to roll with Tennessee in this game. I think that they find a way to get it done, and really it's going to be by way of the defensive side of the ball. I think that they'll really find a way to get it done over the Pittsburgh Steelers. How about this one? How about the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos? Denver's a team that I thought was waving the white flag when they traded Von Miller to the Rams before the trade deadline. I thought, okay, they're tapping out. And Cincinnati was a team that I started the season not giving any respect to, and they came out the gates and they started playing really well. And Bengals fans started hitting me up and saying, Q, show the team some respect. Stop being so disrespectful. So then I started showing them respect, and then they lost a couple games. And then I thought, well, what the hell am I doing now? But Cincinnati, they're playing some good ball, not great ball, not really consistent, but they've shown signs of headed and trending in the right direction. What are you thinking on this one, man? Bengals at Denver.
Oh, this is a tough game. I like the Bengals. I think the Bengals are more fun to watch too. Maybe
Right.
that's creeping into my head just because the Teddy Two Gloves offense with the Denver Broncos is, it's just so it's so risk averse, I guess is the way to put it, and like throwing it short of the sticks on third downs. And look, they can run the heck out of the football, so sometimes it doesn't matter with the two-headed monster of the rookie along with the veteran. I love that combination there, and either week, and sometimes last week it was both of them. One of those guys is going to go off each week. It seems like Vic Fangio, well-coached defense there. So I think that's why you can't count the Broncos out, and it's pretty amazing they have a better record than the Rams do since that trade of Von Miller. Because, I thought that was a white flag trade, and I thought that was it for the Denver Broncos. And I still fully don't believe in the Broncos, but at 7-6, they're in this thing. And they're one game behind those Chargers now in the AFC West. And so, or one win behind, they could tie them at 8-6 if they win this week against the Bengals at home. They're favored by 2.5. I think I might take those 2.5 points though, and take those Cincinnati Bengals. I think the firepower on offense for the Bengals, they've got enough playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, even though they're a little bit flawed over there. And the Bengals, kind of like the Chargers, how we talked about, I think they're 1 year away, maybe adding a couple pieces. They're going to be trouble next year. And So I think both of these teams are flawed. I think Bengals are playing better, can outscore those Broncos on the road. So give me the points and give me the road dog in the Cincinnati Bengals in this one.
Nice, I like it. I mean, you broke it down all the way down to the nitty gritty on why to take the Bengals. I just never trust the Broncos offense. I really don't. I know their defense; they can play. I like Patrick Surtain a lot. I like what he's able to do at the corner position. They've got some playmakers again on defense. I've never been a believer in Teddy Two Gloves. I know that they can run the rock, but I find it hard to believe that Denver offense is going to come alive. And I think Cincinnati will do enough. Their offense is fun. You know, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, those cats are good. T. Higgins, those cats. I like what they're able to do offensively. If they get clicking, they get rolling, man, they're a tough out. So shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna roll with them as well. I liked your breakdown a little bit better, but we got there at the same. We got there no matter what, two different ways, but we both got there.
Hey, did you hear the story about Teddy Bridgewater talking about how he's going to be asking for $25 million next year as a free agent? And I'm like,
No,
well,
did
I
not.
guess no problem with you asking. I'll ask for $25 million too from the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll see which one of us gets it. I have a feeling neither one of us will.
Right. I think there's a better chance that you might get it than Teddy Two Gloves, but that's me. I digress. I don't want to be
Hey,
disrespectful.
I throw past the sticks on third down, dude.
Right? I heard that. How about this? Three more to go. How about Seattle at the Rams? The Seahawks have been just a weird team all year, especially with Russell Wilson going down. And the Rams, they show signs of being great. Then they show inconsistencies. And then they put on a hell of a show on Monday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals. What are your thoughts on this one?
This one's really tough because, again, like that Cleveland game Saturday, there's an extra day to get some negative tests in, but there are so many Rams now, and I think even more today going on the list that are on that COVID reserve list right now. I think a lot of them potentially will be back, but man, if you are missing Odell and you are missing Jalen Ramsey's on the list,
Right.
and there is there's maybe not as many big time starters. Tyler Higbee's on the list. Ramsey was on the 13th. So he's had 3 or 4 days already on the list. He has a better shot maybe than most to get off the list. Odell was the next day that he tested positive. But man, so many of those players, a lot of depth pieces really that tested positive coming off of that Monday Night Football game. A little bit of a short week. I kind of like Fox playing spoiler a little bit for those Los Angeles Rams here. And with everything up in the air with the COVID, if you don't have a couple of your best players, especially, I mean, I know Aaron Donald is really the engine that makes that thing
Right.
go on that defense, but Jalen Ramsey's a dude, and he's really important. And if he's not out there, that hurts that Rams defense quite a bit. No Odell. I feel like right now you almost have to pick the Seahawks with Russell Wilson and some magic, especially when you're talking about against the spread. But maybe you wait till Sunday morning on that and see if things are a little bit more clear, because it's just a little bit muddy. But if everyone's playing, I think it was a statement game by the Rams last week, and they're like, yeah, okay, we figured it out. We went and traded for this quarterback, Matthew Stafford, for a reason, and we're a really good team. Forget that hiccup we just had. We're going to go beat up on some people, and the Seahawks are not playing good ball. So I know I'm sitting on the fence big time. If they get everybody back from COVID, give me the Rams. If not, give me those points.
I'm just gonna roll with the Rams. I just don't think Seattle's playing well enough, and I think that that offensive line for the Seahawks is going to get wrecked by Aaron Donald because he's a game wrecker. I mean, that's just what he does. You saw what he did Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. It was just so impressive. I mean, he's even using offensive linemen to sack the quarterback. So I mean, this dude is just taking his game to such another level. He could be a guy in the running for Defensive Player of the Year every single year. He's just that stinking good, and I think as long as you have him, you have a great chance. So Seattle, as much as I like Russell Wilson and what he's able to do, they're not cooking this year. Their defense stinks. I just think that Matt Stafford and the Rams will find a way to do enough to win this game. It won't be pretty, but they'll do enough to win the game. How about this one? How about the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens? Sounds like Lamar Jackson is going to be a no-go. He didn't practice on Thursday, and so that most likely seems like he's going to be out. And Aaron Rodgers is looking really good, MVP style again. I mean, he's just doing what Aaron Rodgers does. What do you think about this one? Green Bay's on the road.
Even though they're on the road, I like Green Bay here. They just win. It's crazy what Matt LaFleur's doing there with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and he's on his way to another 13-win season. It's pretty crazy, and coach of the year type stuff. Tyler Huntley's been respectable in spot duty for Lamar Jackson, so it's not like just because Lamar plays that they're done and they're out. But there's been some games this year, and I think this is one of the worst teams defensively that Lamar Jackson's had around him. He's had to play some hero ball. They've come up with some really narrow victories. I think this one's going to be too much. I'm going to take those Green Bay Packers that continue to roll with their MVP candidate in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Baltimore to me doesn't have the same magic that they normally have. Lamar Jackson's done some great things for this team, but I just don't think that they have the goods. I don't think they have enough goods to get it done. And Green Bay is I mean, they're cooking. Devontae Adams is looking really good. Aaron Jones is always looking really good. And of course, you have Aaron Rodgers, who's going to do what Aaron Rodgers does, and he's done it all season long. I think that they're really gaining a lot of steam right now. They're competing for one of the best teams in the league right now. I mean, they're just really cooking. So I don't even think this one's a close one. I think Green Bay goes into Baltimore and handles their business. We'll close it out with the NFC East game. How about this one? The Washington football team, all their issues that they have off the field, they still found a way to go on a nice little 4-game winning streak before it got snapped last week. They're at Philadelphia, taking on the Eagles again. NFC action. The Philadelphia Eagles haven't had the season they want. I think they're just really finding themselves, trying to figure out who's good, who's not, what they could really move forward with even next year. How do you think these two teams in the NFC shake out to close out our 6-pack?
I like the Eagles better because of their offensive line.
Mm,
I think Heineke kind of turned into a pumpkin a little bit, and Washington had a nice little run. It was a nice little story, but they're just not that good of a football team. I think they proved that early part of the season. Had a little run, came back down to earth. I like the Eagles because they're at home to put them over the top in this game, and it's going to be really interesting down the stretch with these two teams because they play again in 2 weeks. They haven't played yet, so the Washington football team goes Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, and then the Eagles go Washington Giants, Washington Cowboys. So a ton to shake out there in the division. But when it comes to a playoff spot, if one of these teams sweeps the other, they're in and the other team's out. So it's really interesting for the Eagles and Washington. If they can beat the other team twice in 3 weeks, they're a playoff team. And if they split those games, then maybe they open up the opportunity for one of the other teams like the Vikings to get in the NFC. To me, I feel like the Eagles are right now the better team. Neither is a great team, but since they're at home, I'll take the Eagles here.
And I'm going to run the Washington football team only because I like their defense a little bit more than I like Philadelphia's defense. I think that the Washington football team's defense makes plays even without Chase Young. I saw them up close and personal a few weeks ago in Allegiant Stadium, and they were able to hold the Raiders to 15 points, and the Raiders have a pretty good offense, even though they haven't been clicking. So I just kind of like what they're able to do. I like the grit, too, in Tyler Heineke, and usually that means that the guy's not really that good, but he tries hard. But I just like his style. I just like kind of who he is. Kind of reminds me of Nick Mullins, going back all the way back to Nick Mullins. They just kind of have that, hey, I'm not supposed to be here anyway style, so let's just go and make it happen. So I'm going to roll with the Washington football team. I'm a big fan of what Ron Rivera has going on anyway, so we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But both of these teams are, not very good, like you mentioned, and their final little schedule that they have for both is going to be interesting to see who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. If either one of those teams makes the playoffs, which I do feel like one of them is going to make it, of course, the Cowboys will win that division. But yeah, it should be interesting, man. But I'm going to roll with the Washington football team, and you grab the Eagles in that one.
I like it. And I mean, how many of those AFC teams would make the playoffs in the NFC and make that 7th wild card spot? Because none of these teams want it. Washington, Minnesota, Atlanta, I think is one of the worst 6-win teams in the NFL. The Saints have no quarterback. Like, I don't know about any of those teams. I would take the Raiders. I would take the Broncos. I would take Cincinnati. I would take Cleveland. I would take all of those teams. I would take Pittsburgh over all of those teams for the 7th seed in the NFC.
Right. No, I hear you, man, and it's so crazy how these conferences are all shaking out, and this year has been one of these bizarre years that I haven't seen this in a very long time, if ever, where there's so many teams that are just kind of bunched up, and nobody really wants to put a stranglehold on. Hey, we're going to the playoffs, and there's no doubt about it. But that's what makes every team exciting, and that's what makes every game exciting, and what makes every fan base make sure they tune into their favorite team each and every week, and the NFL loves it. For that. So that's going to make week 15, 16, 17, and 18 really interesting weeks to close out the season.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff. It was fun being back
Yeah.
here on the Locked On NFL Q.
Yeah, you got to come and hang out every once in a while, man. Go back
Sure.
to your roots every once in a while. Don't forget about where home was.
No, yeah, I'll come back and join you. I'll be the third wheel for you and Christopher Carter anytime. Christopher will be back with you next week, Friday, with the normal time on Locked On NFL. I had fun though filling in, and it was a great pleasure for me to join you. So appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate all the listeners out there making Locked On NFL your first listen right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. After you're done with Locked On NFL, come on over and hang out with me and Williamson on the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Of course, your boy Q's doing Locked On Raiders. I'm doing Locked On 49ers. We're both double timing here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Q, it was fun. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the listeners out there. And your regular programming next week right here on Locked On NFL.